Do the math with me for a second. $20 a month for one AI chat subscription. 20 more for the second one you keep just in case. An API bill for your coding agent that mysteriously grows every month. For a lot of developers, the total is quietly past $100 a month, over $1,000 a year, for intelligence that increasingly is available somewhere else for free. And here's the number that reframes everything. Right now, across the official, documented free tiers of AI providers, not tricks, not trials, the free tiers these companies publish on their own pricing pages. There are roughly 1.6 billion tokens per month sitting on the table. Billion, with a B. The problem has never been that free AI doesn't exist. The problem is that it's scattered across dozens of providers, dozens of signups, dozens of rate limits, and no sane person stacks all of that by hand. This week, the tool that stacks it for you became one of the fastest rising projects on all of GitHub. One Endpoint. Over 260 providers, 500 plus models, Claude, GPT, Gemini, Kimi K3, GLM, DeepSeek, free, open source, MIT licensed, built by more than 500 contributors. In the next few minutes, what it actually is, the honest math behind that 1.6 billion number, including the inflated version the project refuses to publish, which tells you a lot how the automatic fallback works. The compression trick with the silliest name in software, the one command that gives your AI agents the keys to everything. And then the honest limits section, because free always has fine print and this channel reads it out loud. Let's open the box. It's called OmniRoute, and the cleanest way to understand it is as a universal adapter for AI. Every provider, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Moonshot, Jipu, and about 260 others speaks a slightly different dialect, different SDKs, different endpoints, different key formats. OmniRoute sits on your machine as one local server, speaks every dialect on your behalf, and presents your tools with a single, standard, OpenAI-compatible endpoint. Your coding agent doesn't need to know that one request went to Gemini's free tier and the next went to GLM. It just talks to localhost, and the gateway handles the rest. And because it presents that standard interface, it plugs into the tools you already live in. Claude Code, Codex, Cursor, Klein, Copilot. You're not switching tools, you're switching what feeds them. Now, the headline number, and this is where OmniRoute earned my respect before I'd even installed it. The project aggregates the documented free tiers of more than 40 provider pools into one live figure on its dashboard. Roughly 1.6 billion free tokens per month, steady state rising to around 2.1 billion in your first month, if you count sign-up credits. But here's the part I want you to hear, because it's rare. The README openly explains its own counting method. Free pools that are shared across providers get counted once, not 5 times. And it states in writing that if it counted every rate limit ceiling running 24/7, the way some marketing pages do, the headline would read about 10 billion. And it refuses to publish that number because it's not honest. A free tools project that deflates its own headline for accuracy? On this channel, that's not a footnote. That's a character reference. So what is 1.6 billion tokens actually worth? It depends entirely on which models you'd otherwise pay for. But for scale, at typical mid-tier API pricing of a few dollars per million tokens, you're looking at the equivalent of hundreds to a few $1,000s of monthly usage at zero cost. For context, that's more tokens than most individual developers push through paid APIs in a month, by a wide margin. And beyond the countable pool, there's a separate category, the dashboard tracks. Permanently free, no cap providers. Names like SiliconFlow, Z.AI's GLM Flash tier, and OpenCode Zen surfaced separately, precisely so they don't inflate that headline number. And the individual entries in the catalog are wilder than the total suggests. Flipping through the provider reference reads like a coupon book for intelligence. One provider offers $100 in free credits covering GPT-5 class, Claude, and Gemini models. Another gives 1 million free tokens per day. No credit card across 200 plus models. A recent release even added an anonymous tier on one gateway, so its free models work without creating an account at all. And there's a documented power move for later. A one-time $10 top-up on OpenRouter permanently unlocks an additional 24 million free tokens every month. Arguably the best $10 in AI. None of this is secret. It's all on public pricing pages. It was just never in one place with one API. Until now, but a pile of free tiers is useless without the feature that makes this whole thing work. Quota-aware automatic fallback. Here's the daily reality of free tiers. They run out. One provider gives you 1 million tokens a day. Another caps you at 5 requests a minute. Managed by hand. That's a nightmare of error messages. OmniRoute tracks your live usage against every pool, used and remaining, per model, per month, right on the dashboard. And when one free tier is exhausted or rate limited, the next request silently routes to the next available provider. Your agent never sees an error. It just keeps working while the gateway plays free tier Tetris underneath. That is the entire value proposition in one sentence. The free AI was always there. Now it behaves like one reliable service. Picture an actual Workday. 9 a.m., your coding agent starts a refactor and requests flow to a fast free tier model. The dashboard ticks the pool down in real time. 11 a.m., that daily allowance runs dry mid-task. The very next request routes to the second pool in your chain without a single failed call. And the agent doesn't even pause. 2 p.m., you hit one genuinely hard architectural question, flip the model for that one conversation to a premium option through your own key, pay a few cents, and flip back. By evening, the usage page tells the story. A full day of agent-driven work, thousands of requests, and the paid portion is pocket change. That's the machine working as designed. Free by default, paid by exception, automatic in between. Setup is honestly the least interesting part, which is a compliment. It's an NPM install, then OmniRoute setup runs a guided wizard. OmniRoute doctor diagnoses your providers and ports, and the dashboard comes up on localhost port 20128. Point your tool of choice at the local endpoint and your routing. There's a full terminal cockpit, over 80 commands, including an interactive chat client, a desktop app, a progressive web app, and, in the most open-source flex imaginable, it runs on an Android phone through Termux. Your pocket can be an AI gateway. Now for my favorite feature, and yes, the name is real, Caveman mode. Every request through OmniRoute can pass through a transparent compression pipeline that the project reports saves between 15 and 95% of tokens depending on content. It stacks two ideas. The first, RTK, compresses the bulky machine-generated stuff. Command outputs, logs, JSON, the verbose exhaust that coding agents constantly shove into context. The second is the famous Caveman philosophy from the viral project whose entire thesis was, quote, why use many token when few token do trick? It strips filler and condenses phrasing before the request ever leaves your machine. Transparently, with no changes to your tools. Remember our video on how Claude code can burn tens of thousands of tokens before you type a word? This is the community's answer built into the pipe. Fewer tokens doesn't just stretch free tiers further. It makes every paid request cheaper, too. Compression is the quiet twin of free. And for the agent builders watching the sleeper feature, OmniRoute speaks MCP and A2A, the agent protocols we've covered on this channel. One command, Claude MCP add server, pointed at the local gateway, and your agent doesn't just use OmniRoute. It can drive it, switch models mid-task, check remaining quota, manage the cache, trigger compression autonomously. An agent that notices its free tier running low and reroutes itself is no longer science fiction, it's a config line. Okay, deep breath. The honest limits section, because stop paying deserves a precise definition, and free always has terms. Limit 1, and it's the big one. Free tiers are the provider's free tiers, and every provider has its own terms. On some free tiers, your prompts may be used to improve the provider's models. That is often exactly why the tier is free. OmniRoute does something genuinely useful here. The dashboard carries a transparency flag on each provider's terms so you can see what you're agreeing to, but the rule is yours to enforce. Do not send secrets, proprietary code, or sensitive data through free tiers whose terms you haven't read. Free compute is a trade, know what you're trading. Limit 2, rate limits are real. Some free pools are generous, others are 5 requests a minute with a daily cap. The fallback system smooths this beautifully for individual work, but this is a personal and small team superpower, not a production SLA. If you're serving customers at scale, you'll still be buying dedicated capacity, and you should. Limit 3, the premium ceiling. The gateway is free, Claude Opus is not. If you route to top closed models with your own API keys, you pay those providers their normal rates through OmniRoute, conveniently with compression trimming the bill. But you pay, so let's define the title honestly. Stop paying means stop paying for the 80% of your usage. The drafts, the iterations, the everyday questions, the agent scaffolding that free tier models now handle indistinguishably well. Keep the paid frontier for the 20% that genuinely needs it. That's the same 80-20 playbook we've applied to coding agents and voice tools on this channel, and the monthly delta is usually the difference between a 3-figure bill and a single-digit one. Limit 4. Free tiers are weather, not climate. Providers change them, shrink them, retire them. The 1.6 billion is a live documented snapshot. The dashboard updates as terms change. But nobody should architect their life around any single pool surviving forever. The gateway's whole design, hundreds of providers, automatic failover, is itself the hedge against this. And limit 5, the quiet one. This is self-hosted infrastructure. Your machine, your keys, your responsibility. The MIT license and 500 contributors mean the code is inspectable, and the bus factor is low, but there's no support hotline. For this audience, I suspect that's a feature. So who should actually install this today? If you're a solo developer or student whose AI bills sting, this is the single highest leverage free tool of the month. The free tiers alone likely cover your entire usage. If you're running agents, the fallback plus MCP control turns flaky free capacity into something that behaves like a real backend. If you're a tinkerer with local models, here's the endgame move. OmniRoute routes to local providers too, which means one endpoint can front the free cloud tiers and the models running on your own hardware. Free tiers for volume, your own Colibri-style local setup for privacy, paid frontier for the peak, all behind one address. That's not a discount, that's an architecture. Step back, and this is the same story this channel has been tracking all month, arriving at a new layer. First, the models went open. Then the coding agents went open. Then the voice layer, And now the routing layer, the traffic control between you and every AI on Earth, is open, free, and better documented than most paid products. Notice the pattern in who wins. The moat was the model. Then the price, and increasingly it's just friction. Every one of these tools attacks friction, 20 signups, 20 SDKs, 20 bills, collapsed into one endpoint on localhost. The paid subscriptions were never selling intelligence. They were selling convenience. And open source just made convenience free. So here's my question for you, and I'll pin it below. And I want real numbers. Add up your AI spending right now. Subscriptions plus API bills monthly. What's your number? And after this video, what do you think it could be? Drop both figures in the comments. The gap between those two numbers across everyone watching is the story of AI in 2026, and the biggest gaps will shape the follow-up video. Every link, the OmniRoute repository, the free tiers dashboard documentation, the provider reference with the terms, flags, and everything else I cited is in the description, so you can verify every claim. And set this up yourself tonight. That's the standard on this channel. If you'd rather understand the future than pay for it, that's literally what we do here every single day. Subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.